All right. Well, hey, Coaches Up for Change. This is Dee Corchin, and it is Monday. It is June 6th, and it is our monthly executive director and above calls. So we started these calls. I think this is our third or fourth one. We started them earlier this year, really to provide a forum, a level of training, engagement, personal development for you guys as leaders. And I know those of you that are showing up and coming to this call and watching the recording are definitely in a position that you want to grow, you want to make impact, you want to help people. So I'm really excited today that we're going to be talking with my mentor and coach, Susan Palace. But before we get there, I think that there's some really cool things happening right now. So I just wanted to talk to us, each of us as a group about it, just kind of what your role is and how you might be able to benefit and then share with others. But last week, once a month, we have a call with Nick Johnson and Dr. Anderson, a global director and above call. And on this past call, they were talking about a lot about convention. So I'm hoping that you're registered for convention, that you are planning to attend in person. I see a lot of nodding heads. And I wanted to let you know that if you missed it by in person, or if you've had a coach join your team, even though they say it's sold out, right now, people that you can get on a wait list, and right now, people that are getting on the wait list, between me and you, are getting in like this. So if you have people on your team that you want, try to get in person, because we just know that in person is going to have such a more powerful impact than virtual, but virtual is a great second choice. It's going to be phenomenal this year, where we've got a great team party plan for Friday night. So being there in person is the real deal. And then the company is going to be announcing that I think it starts today, that they're going to be offering for new coaches that come on board between now and convention, that if they can't get in person, they can watch virtually for, was it $50, Susan? Yeah, so like half price, right? So if you're new coaches, we definitely want to get them virtual, if not in person, and it's $50. So that's incredible. We're also so here was the challenge. So Nick Johnson came on and he said, their corporate puts a lot of energy. I mean, they want to have a stellar experience for us, an impactful experience. And Nick said that what he has challenged his team to do is, and at that point it was last week, it was 50 days away. Today we're 45 days away, but he challenged his team to show up at convention in their best physical health, their best mental health, and their best professional health, so that when they come to deliver for us, that they would be at their best. And then Dr. A challenged us as the field to do the same. He said, we as leaders should really, consider showing up as our best as well, and really made a point to say what could happen. At that point, it was 50 days. I counted today, it's 45 days. What would happen if we all really dialed in our nutrition, dialed in on our goals, dialed in on our focus on helping other people, dialed in on the mission, dialed in on our level of professionalism? How would we experience convention differently, right, with our team? So I just thought that was a cool challenge. If you want to do something with that, I would love to partner with you on it. Text me your goals. I know a couple of people have already told me today of what they have started. So that is great. And then the last two quick things is, I don't know if you guys saw, but Paul Blanchard is offering a workshop this Wednesday. It's a free webinar at noon on Wednesday, June 8th, called Pure Productivity. And Dave and Paul Blanchard, they just have really in their hearts to speak to us about, really all of their community, about the ability to really, if we really dial in and focus on pure productivity, what that allows us to do. And with summer coming, there seems to be so many times, and you experience this with your clients, your coaches, of how do you balance summer and your business. So they are offering this free webinar on Wednesday to talk about pure productivity, with to follow, I think, a workshop or a possible boot camp afterwards. So if you're hearing that from your coaches on your team, or you're even thinking that, like, maybe I need a little structure here, would love to have more intentional free time to not feel guilty about, that would be a good thing to tune into. And then last but not least, it's qualification time for Awaken. So Awaken is happening October 6th through the 8th. And qualification is to qualify in June, July, or August for as an executive director or higher. So we've got lots of people on our team running for this. We're excited. It takes place here in Atlanta. We are going to have early bird registration, probably for 30 days. So those of us who are qualified in June can get a discounted registration before it completely opens up to everyone else. So who's excited about Awaken? Yeah. It's going to be good. Going to be good. We do know a lot on the agenda is going to be awesome. So not going to want to miss it. So let's talk about creating a business of longevity. So I put a quote up when I did this post about this call that most of us, most people in general, overestimate what they can do in 1 year and totally underestimate what we could do in 10 years. And I know for a fact that's probably my situation and many of yours. And on one of our very first leadership calls, we talked about really the only thing that gets in our way with this business. And the only time I see somebody get frustrated, get stuck, or even quit is when the noise in our head gets too loud. And so that's why it's so important to have conversations like this. And because Optavia is an incredible vehicle and can create an incredible business of longevity if we look at it like that and as a business. And Susan, my coach, has been coaching for 13 years. Is that right, Susan?
It'll
so
be
probably
in
almost
July or August.
in July. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys know, but Optavia has one of the highest retention rates of any organization of this nature. And that's because of what we're doing is such good work for others. I think the level of mentorship that we get, as well as our incredible compensation plan. So, Susan, I know some people on this call or people listening don't really know you. We're such a growing organization. We've got people with all different levels of experience, but I know I'm inspired every time I hear your story. So why don't we just start out a little bit? Maybe you'll go back in time for us to 14 years ago, probably a little over 14 years ago, when somebody introduced this idea to you. And really, what was your reason for saying yes, your vision, and how has it changed?
Okay, well, thank you, Dee. So before I begin, tell my story, which I love to share, I want to, one, congratulate the new EDs on this call. I know Corey is, but raise your hand. Is there more? I don't know. I'm just meeting y'all. It's so amazing. And so thank you for being here and doing what you do, because y'all inspire me. So the fact that I get to share on this call is really cool, because there's a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Frances Scovel Shinn. Jot it down. But anyway, it's inspired me for a long time. But she says the game of life, there's 4 things: health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. That's the game of life, if you have those. And so y'all all, one of the areas is for growth for me is self-expression. And y'all are just so on this call, like all of y'all, I stalk y'all on Facebook and Instagram, and I know y'all express yourself so well. And so y'all inspire me. So the fact that I get to share is really cool. The other thing is today is D-Day. D-Day. Do y'all know what D-Day is? I didn't. Okay. I mean, I kind of did. I learned it in history school, but D-Day is the day in World War II when the Allied forces invaded France. It was occupied by the Nazis. And it was the turning point of World War II and the turning point of freedom and democracy. And so it's meant to, people go like, what does D mean? And I think, it's just D-Day, H hour, or whatever. There's controversy about what D means, but it means a day when you're going to take off, where, something's going to happen and it's going to change the course of what you do going forward. And so I do hope that all of, that there's something that I can inspire you with today that will change the course of your growth, commitment, desire in Optavia and in your life, because I've always thought that Optavia is a vehicle for your life, not the other way around. And Dee, let's just go with it. I just want to honor Dee, who has created this amazing team well beyond my vision of what could be possible. And I get to meet so many people who I wouldn't have met before. And so I just want to thank Dee for all she does and how she inspires me. And I have to say, well, I'll be sharing, part of what growing a longevity businesses is, how do you stay inspired? It's like staying in a marriage for a long time, or it's like, whatever you do for a long time, you have to be inspired and to keep growing. And I promise you, with Dee, working with her early on before Global, everything after Global, she's done on her own with other mentors. But before Global, I swear the reason that she wanted to become a FIBL is for one reason only. Seriously, for her to get information for her team. That was it. She could, there was like, I'm a seat of the pants girl, and I didn't always have information out what I could get. So she wanted to be FIBL just so she could, and I couldn't get all the information. She wanted to get information. So it's really cool that her growth is because of y'all. And that's what she continues to grow. So thank you, Dee. So I started 14 years ago. I was approached by for the business. I was a yoga teacher, and I had a yoga business, corporate wellness. And I was approached by a nutritionist friend of mine who also did mind body exercise. And we'd always lament about how no one came to class, how little money we made. And she was a nutritionist. And so we would do talks on mind body, and she would do the nutrition and I would do mind body on weight loss, because that was, an area where every book I read, I struggled with my weight since I was 14 years old. And I was always looking for that right way to eat that would help my weight stay low and for me not to worry about it anymore. So I was always seeking, and I didn't necessarily do a bunch of diets later in life, but I did like raw food and macrobiotic and vegan and paleo before it was paleo, and those kind of things, health food oriented things. And so I knew she was a real clean eater. And so when she came to me with this, I knew, one, she was always doing different businesses. I knew when she called me, she was going to sell me something. I knew it. So the fact that I went to lunch with her, and she told me about the program. I said, but Renee, what about eating organic? And she goes, I can eat organic till the cows come home and I'm still chubby. And she was my size and, that sort of thing. And so she said, and so I was asking her about, about it. And I liked the idea of coaching in the weight loss field, but I wasn't going to do, medically based food. Like I was a yoga teacher. And so, but I liked the idea of the structured program that I could offer people. So I said, well, I'll try the program, and we didn't have any money at the time. So I was like, for a week, I'll try the program for a week. And I don't advise anyone doing that, but because you pay a ton of money for shipping and stuff, but I did it for a week. And it's funny, she says, like, what do you eat for breakfast? Like, I'm talking about the program. And she says, what do you eat for breakfast? I said, well, green drink, like green barley grass and raw almonds. And she goes, oh yeah, you'll lose weight. So it's like, I love working with health food people because, that's what I was. And my friend who knew what I ate for breakfast, she says, I just wouldn't wake up in the morning. If I ate green drink and raw almonds, like, why even wake up? Like, I just would not do it. So anyway, I tried the program and I was blown away. I was resistant at first. What am I doing eating medically formulated food? But I wanted to coach. And by then I had already hooked up with a physician who was going to put it in his practice. So I tried the program and that was kind of out there. And I was blown away. Balanced blood sugar was the key. So when people talk about, like, for me, it just gave me so much freedom that I didn't have. I had the mindset piece, but I didn't have the fuel. And so I put away my health foods, chalky shakes, and I never looked back. And so I tell people now I would eat cyanide if it balanced my blood sugar. So when people talk about preservatives or anything, no. So it's very powerful for me. And so I started partnering with a physician. And what was interesting in my coach, I really thank her all the time. She was very competent, capable. She trained me really well. But she would get discouraged very easily. And at some point, I think it was even before I made global, she was only integrated national at the time. And because she was integrated national and she had been there maybe a year or two, she quit. Now she actually is still, has people ordering or a few people, but she walked away and she was very envious. I think she said she had a hard time finding what would motivate her. And I was very hungry when I started seeing what was possible with this program. And she would always just do different certifications, different businesses. She's so talented. If I had what she had, oh my gosh. But I really am very grateful. And I recently called, and she was very happy for me and my growth. And I called her recently just to thank her again and just all that she taught me. And she says, I don't know why I quit. I wish I hadn't. So I think that, that's so many people have that because they don't ever find anything better than what we have. It might be a different path for them, but they don't have anything better. So so my mentors both quit. The physician I worked with, he was very involved and very, very helpful for me. We used to do things at his office. We used to do habits of health nights, tremendous opportunity for me. And yet he had different ambitions. So here I was, I caught the vision. I wanted to be, grow my business. I would go to every event, even if it was they used to have regionals. And I used to go to them, like Terry Miller had one in Austin. That's where I met Doug Wood for the first time, met, Joe Pecoraro. So I'd meet all these leaders. They weren't leaders then. They just had a vision and a heart and were just taking action in a way. They were excited about the mission. And so that's what I did. And then it just kept growing and growing. And then it comes to a point where I reached Global's 4.5 years, but early on, when there was any conflict, like with coaches, and there's always conflict with my mentors, with things, my husband used to tell me, he would say, Susan, it doesn't matter about this one or that one. He says, it's always about your team. Don't worry about your mentors. It's about your team. That's who you care about. And that's who you focus on. And then he would tell me, you want this to be a business for 5 or 10 years. Like, you don't just want it for just a month or next month. You want it, where is it going to be in 5 years, 10 years? What are you creating? And that really helped me a lot, get that long-term vision really solidified. Couple of other things, I really liked it. I was a sensitive kid and sensitivity was very hard for me. And so this was an avenue for my sensitivity. Like, whoa, I've never been 300 pounds, but I can understand what someone who can do really well in every area of your life and get leveled by a brownie. Head to head, inanimate little thing, you lose and you feel really bad about yourself. And you start doubting yourself and your willpower. And so I knew that feeling and people knew I knew. I was hungry. I saw income pretty quickly. And how I caught the bigger vision, I think early on, I just wanted to coach clients. I did not want to grow a business at all. And so my mentors would say, hey, come to this event. And I would always say no. And I would always say no, 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 no. Finally, I think I had a coach ask me what I did. And she says, how can I do what you do? And so I don't know. I'll ask my mentor. And so I went to an event and it was a Super Saturday with Dan Bell and with Ron Gels and Kim Fisk. And I remember 2 things. One is Dan showed the business plan. And when I had done personal growth in the past, like, okay, what kind of income would you like to make? And I always thought 300,000 a year would be like a good amount to make. And when he does a little diagram, $300,000 a year shows up at the bottom. I took it as a sign. And Kim Fisk said, she says, I went to a convention 2 weeks after I signed up. I was on program. She says, I called 75 people. 30 said yes. At the time, we had a different comp plan. 30 said yes. And I'm like, that sounds easy enough. There's no social media, nothing close to that. And so I thought, well, that's easy. It wasn't easy, but simple. And those two things are what had me. And it was funny because my mentor, Renee, she says, first I was always pulling you. You went to an event and now you're pushing me. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And that's how I caught the bigger vision.
That is so awesome, Susan. And I know like financially too, I think I remember you saying you were driving all over, maybe getting sponsorships for your kids to go to camp. And one of your early goals was just paying for them to have camp. And now you actually get to scholarship some people to go to that, to pay it forward. So that is beautiful. And so we all have challenges. I mean, we all go through seasons of discouragement, disappointment, people move orders. Coaches, don't do what they say they want to do, or, fall, get muddy on their vision, their goals. So how have you navigated, because you probably, out of all of us, you've had more challenges and discouragement. How have you navigated that? And then if you really had to look at it, like, what is hardest for you in this business, or what have you had to overcome, or what are you constantly working through?
So initially, when, clients, for those of you, there's that are kind of at the beginning phases, or when clients leave, it's really, the tendency is to want to maybe blame them or blame yourself. And I would have an abundance mindset that I had a full practice and one person didn't mean that much to me. And then, and lately, like, this past week, like last week, I had a client, say, and it was a potential coach, her trainer, and she wasn't doing her full lean and green. She was only doing 3 ounces. So she's passing out at her workout. So the trainer, who was interested in Optavia, and we were talking, and she was awesome. And then, our client is now passing out. And so now she's got her on her plan. And I was so bummed. And I think what's really important to do is feel the bumness. For, what we learn through the habits of conscious leadership with Dr. A is that, if you feel a feeling for about 90 seconds, it will dissipate. And too often we go into our heads, like, I cannot believe she did that. If she would have only gotten a food scale, she would have seen she wouldn't get a food scale. And then finally she got a food scale, and she goes, could restaurants really only give you, like, if it's 6 ounce fillet of salmon and it only works out to be 2.8 ounces, could that really be? And I'm going, yes. So it's like those things happen. And we, instead of blaming ourselves or others, just feel the feelings. I'm so disappointed. And then creativity opens up. Okay, what can I do? And so that abundance mentality, because a year from now, like, a coach will, they'll talk to you and then they'll join with somebody else. Seriously. I mean, and then you start learning what to look for. Okay. Find out, have they talked to anyone before? Are they weighing their food? Stop now, go to Amazon, get a food scale. I could have done that 3 weeks ago, and saved myself some heartache. But being with the heartache, honoring it, not going into my head about the story about it, really helps so much. So that's what I really advise. And then a year from now, it won't matter. Clients come and go, coaches come and go. It just won't matter. So
I love that. It's kind of like the don't sweat the small stuff philosophy, right? Like, it's all small stuff. So, and you, sounds like you've also gotten into the, like, okay, how's this happening for me? Instead of it like negative sabotage, go, okay, what could have I done differently? Or
exactly.
Versus I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
Or something wrong with me. Yeah.
And that
so if somebody well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what would be maybe the top 3 things that, if somebody wants to grow this business, what would be the top 3 things that you would say are really a part of leadership and growing as a leader in this business?
So the first would be a cliche as it sounds, just never miss an event. and do whatever you have to do. Have the difficult conversation with somebody so they will go. Now, I'm a people pleaser, and and I don't like to have those difficult conversations because, quite frankly, I'd rather you like me than me serve you. That's what people pleasing is, I'm sorry to say. So, but around coaching, going to events, that's when I showed up. And I would have those hard conversations with people because I knew the only way for you to get a bigger vision was not from me, was from somebody else. And I knew the only thing I knew that once I went to an event, then I was saying to my coach, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I know Dee caught a vision. I know Lisa caught a vision. I know all of my coaches, when they went, caught the vision that no amount of efforting on my part could do. Now, was it hard to have those conversations? And if you want, I can give you an example. Would y'all like that? Example of what that could look like. So one of my coaches was, she used to go to events, and she was an executive director or leader, and she had coaches on her team. Actually, she had had brought in good people. She was awesome. And there was, and so it was really hard for her to get away, and she wasn't going to go. And I said, and I was really bummed about it because I knew she was a little, her life was stressful. And it's like, I said, can we have a conversation about it? And I said, do you like coaching? And she goes, oh, I love it. And so we talked about that. And I said, because her daughter was this, and her mom was this, and her husband this. And I said, so why would you let all these things that aren't working, all these stressors in your life, get in the way of what you do like? What if you leaned into what is going well? And she went. And so, there's a lot of examples like that. I think Nicole, I remember that was one that I had, and people will be mad at me sometimes for challenging them. And I remember feeling so good. Oh, they're mad at me because I did what I thought was in their best interest. And that was a big growth area for me. So I really go to bat for people to show up at events.
Good. So of the three things, and that was something you taught me well. Huh? Yeah, you told me one. You told us one. But that was one thing you passed down to me, right? And I know there's a few people on this call that it was multiple calls that I made, and it was really at your encouragement to keep challenge, call again. There's another week till convention, call again. And it really made a difference in some people's lives. So that's one thing you've paid forward. And I think we've paid forward as an organization, but I think something to keep in mind, guys, as you're growing your teams for sure. So, so never miss an event and get your team to events. What else?
I don't think any IPD has ever missed an event.
Right.
It's just something you do, and make your budget. It's just try not to think, should I or shouldn't I? Just do.
Well, you always taught me. I had one year with a situation where my husband's brother was getting married, and it was on a Saturday, and I was like, I don't think I can do it. And you were like, well, how could you do both? And I actually went to convention Thursday night and Friday, and then flew out Friday night to be at the wedding on Saturday. So I found a way. I couldn't do it all, but I did as much as I could of both. So
were you happy you did that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you have no idea what Dee's done. Dee has canceled trips to Europe, and not for herself growth, but for her team. So, there's been, I don't know, maybe 3 different times that you've had to shift things around in your life to go. So I think that's right. All right. Second thing, personal growth. Just that's it, period, the end. And when I first started, I didn't, no structure. I worked with a business coach way back at the beginning. And she was somebody who worked with yoga teachers and people in the healing arts, therapists and massage therapists. And so I learned structure, instead of stopping at the grocery store, on the way home from someplace, I would plan it out. I'm not an organized person in general, but I learned structure. I learned mindset. I learned how to coach. And so I got help right away, and I always have, around learning. Now, I'm probably more of a consumer than a doer. So just so you know, there is a little bit of weakness there too. But personal growth, and the thing is looking at everything that happens as something that can serve you and learn from it. And so that I think is a real big thing. I did write down an example of something, and I'm trying to think of what it is. Oh my gosh. Hold on. So I guess one thing, so look at everything, personal growth, like, what Dee shared at the beginning, Dr. A's conscious leadership, huge. Go to the habit finder things. If you can learn the habit finder, 6 principles, and adopt principles in your business versus beliefs or thoughts, and learn how to manage your own mindset, it's really powerful. And really, we need to do it every day. So having a system for that. And the third thing is, owning your strengths and your weaknesses. So a lot of times, I still think, like when Dee asked me to share on this call, and I would just say I'm lucky. And I don't let other coaches say that to me. I know something causes results. And so it's kind of, and it might only be what your intention is. And you have no idea how the world moves based on your intention. So owning your strengths and owning your weaknesses. And, but when you own your weaknesses, not in a way to beat up on yourself, because I'm thinking, how many of you can just blink if this is you, but I'm not good at this. I can't do what Dee does. I can't do, what Meg does, what Dr. A does, what Terry Miller does. And so that is just like, yeah, you can't. But one of the quotes I always use, probably every day, is don't let what you can't do stop you from what you can do. So one of my weaknesses is organization and execution. So if y'all ever get the chance to do any of Helen Irwin's TLDP and doing the strength finders, you can do strength finders on your own, but one of my strengths is, I'm very strategic and I'm very relational, and positivity is a strength. I can turn anybody's, lemons into lemonade. Even I can salt the rim and turn it into margarita. I mean, seriously, I can do that. But the problem is sometimes I don't always understand the nature of people's struggles, because I'm like, oh, see things through my eyes. And I know Dee shared really very coolly on one of y'all's calls on disappointment, managing disappointment, that Frank led and moderated. And I know when she had some disappointments, and when some coaches had some disappointments, one that left, I probably wasn't as aware or awake as I could have been. So that strength of mine can maybe not see things serious, has a weakness to it. All our strengths have a frailty. And just be aware of that, and try not to lean into your strengths too much. Own the strengths, go with them. If you're like here, this sucks, go here. Go with the strength always, but understand there's a frailty, and understand when things aren't working, you want to, look at that. The other piece is my weakness. I have almost zero execution skills. That execution is not my strength. And so it's really hard to get things done for me. Very, 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 did I say very challenging? So what, I do is I have to make things so simple. Okay. What do I need to do? I need to acquire clients. I need to support them. I need to acquire coaches. I need to support them. That's all I need to do. And so I wrote it in a notebook every day. What did I do? I saw, I had to do anything in acquiring coaches in like a week. Well, no wonder I'm results the way I do. So I tracked that. And I was telling, I was coaching with Dave Blanchard at the time, and I told him about it. And he loved it. And that, if you do any habit finder, they use the quadrant. They created a quadrant based on it. It's not what I did or how I did it exactly, but it's exactly that. So that creativity comes out of owning your weakness and making it so simple. And when something's hard for you, you will be able to teach it to somebody in a way that when it's easy for someone else, they cannot teach it the way that you can teach it when you overcome your weaknesses. And that is so, I learned that in yoga as a yoga teacher. The people that were real bendy, like they had a hard time teaching beginners. Whereas okay, bend at the hips, take your thighs back. I knew exactly how to get someone to bend over. I could teach them because I learned how to do it. So your weaknesses really can become your strengths. And I really, really want to encourage you to really own that.
That is such great advice. Yeah, the hardest things we work through usually end up being the story or the thing that, and that's why it's so good, right, with our clients that step into coaching, right? Their toughest struggle, right? They turn and they help somebody else with it. So that is a really good point. Because when we're going through it, we think this sucks, right? Or our hard stuff, right? But when we can use it for good. So I've got two questions for you. One's a surprise question before we finish up at 3:45. So really to build a business, right? It's about sponsoring, right? It reaches a point like helping clients is an important, and it's how this mission gets paid forward. But in order to multiply that mission, it's through sponsoring. And that doesn't always come easy to a lot of us as coaches, or we bring coaches on and they don't move. And so we can start to look at ourselves and say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So what would be your best advice around the topic of sponsoring for somebody who wants to grow?
So I think one is look at where you're spending your time like I did. So a lot of times, and I know for me, managing your business, managing the coaches you have and trying to encourage them to grow is a lot easier than reaching out, but it's really not. It's kind of like the easy or hard, what's easy, what's hard. The other thing is to see where you spend too much. If I'm spending too much time on someone or something, or they occupy too much space in my head, then I know I'm off. That I'm wanting something from them more than they want it for themselves. So being really honest about that and knowing what your clues are. The other thing is to be real clear about what you want and who you want on your team. And, really doing that reticular activator, really spend some time and look at how Optavia can serve somebody and who that you want on your team, so it's like spending time that it's your life that you're creating. Optavia is just one part of our lives, but we focus so much on the results and wanting results. You want to have results because it shows, like number on the scale shows how someone is progressing. But when they're not getting the results, well, let's do a systems check and look at that. So how many people are we talking to? Like I did. Okay, well, no conversation. So, and setting goals really small. So one time when I saw I wasn't bringing on coaches, I said, okay, I'm going to have one invite every day. I'm going to ask one person to explore. That's all. One person every single day for a month. And I cannot tell, and I'd be on a call at 8 o'clock with a, check-in call or whatever. And I hadn't asked anybody that day. I'd ask. And I'm telling you, way more people said yes than I would have ever thought. And I was just asking sometimes just to ask during that time period. That people that said no, said great. And a lot of them, then they would come back, and if I, didn't, they'd say, but it's not forever. Like they really, so inviting someone, and that's all, like that one a day or one a week or one, whatever that is for you, that you can focus on that smallest amount to do that. So getting clear, who are you looking for? Like even today, as I do, and I, meditate every morning, not every morning, but I do, very intentional about who I'm looking for now. And I saw, oh, you know what? That trainer that, maybe went away last week. I don't know if she's gone for good, but because I know what's going to happen with the client. But anyway, she might not be who I'm looking for, because it might just be a tool in her business. And this might not be something that would be where who I want to look for. So that awakened me to that, to who I'm looking for. Wait, the people that say no might not be who I'm looking for. So it's just keeping curious.
Yeah, that's so good. I saw something, I'm going to post it in Coaches Out for Change. It said, people don't care about your business. They care about their problems. So be the solution. Right. So when we're out, I thought that was brilliant. Be the solution. So when we look at you, this is your final question, Susan, as we kind of look at you and your career in Optavia, look back 14 years before, how was Optavia a solution for you? Because my bigger question is, what would life look like for you had you not found Optavia?
At risk of being really corny, it'd be like not having a child, like one of my children. What I have gained, who I have become, what's been required of me, it awakened something in me that I didn't know was there. I always knew I was ambitious. I always knew that I wanted to, spread, purpose and meaning, and I wanted to have that. But I didn't, this has been a vehicle for that. And it's been so powerful for me. Yeah. Like I always tell people, it's like I wouldn't have an arm or a leg.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I love that, right? And you think back to how you opened this and you said Renee was always selling something. So she called you, she was actually selling her business, but it actually was a solution. And who gained more out of this? When you compare where Renee is right now and where you are, who gained more from that?
That gives me goosebumps. That's great, Dee, because I gained so much more. And this is what we have to give to somebody if it's the right person, but not everybody it will be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Susan. Some great comments are there for you. I hope you get a chance to see them before we wrap up. And I'm glad everybody was on to hear this. I will be posting the recording in the executive director group. And thank you, Susan, for all. It's through your stewardship and your mentorship that I learned and got the vision to be able to create a team of this, to be able to hear you share your wisdom. So thank you for that. And if you guys didn't see tonight on Team Time, we're actually going to talk about compensation, what we earn and what's possible, have some coaches share. So encourage you to be on that call. Frank is going to help with that. And some of our team is going to share and invite your team, really get out there and invite all your team members to be a part of it as well. So, all right. Thank you so much. We will be back again. Go ahead and mark your calendar for the first Monday in July. Well, it won't be the first Monday in July because that's July 4th. We'll have to have an alternate date, but just appreciate you, Susan, so much. And we'll let everybody get on with their day, and we'll see you tonight on Team Time. Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.